So here's where I attempt to rank all the Miss Marple books. Hey there, it's Mitzi. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to go through all of the Miss Marple. I am very excited to say that I finished the last Miss Marple book, Sleep and Murder, last week. And so now I'm going to try to rank them. And here's the thing that's so great about it. Today happens to be Agatha Christie's birthday. She was born on September 15th. And this was not planned. I was just reading through the books, and I decided after I finished each series, like I'm reading Miss Marple right now, and then Tommy and Tuppence and so forth, I would rank them. So I just finished the Miss Marple books last week, and as I was planning which videos I wanted to film this week, I noticed her birthday was today. So I said, okay, I'm going to talk about Miss Marple books on Agatha Christie's birthday. So happy birthday, Agatha Christie. And this thrills my soul because I have really enjoyed reading Miss Marple and all the Agatha Christies that I've read so far. I do have a ways to go. I've read, I think all but one Tommy and Tuppence. I've read most of the standalones, and I've read just a few of the more famous Hercule Poirot ones. So I have a long way to go, but I'm excited about doing it. I really can't believe I haven't read Agatha Christie before now. I'm going to talk a little bit about that when I talk about one of the books where it started. But I don't know. I think sometimes it's just not the right time for you. So don't ever feel like, oh, I'm so ashamed of myself. I haven't read Charles Dickens, or I haven't read this famous book everybody has read, some sort of classic. Because we all read for different reasons at different times in our life. And for me, I am in the season of Agatha Christie, and I am really enjoying it. And I'm so thankful to have these books to discover. And I will definitely be rereading Miss Marple too. But what I did this past year, my family gave me the DVD set. It's a TV adaptation of the Miss Marple series. So there are 12 books in the series, and so there are 12 of the TV adaptations, TV episodes. But they are long. I didn't realize they were this long because, like, I was going to watch The Body in the Library yesterday, and I didn't start it because it said part 1, part 2, part 3. So they are pretty long, but I do like them because they stick to the book so far pretty well. But I am excited to go through that, and I didn't want to go through that series until I had read these books. And last week I read the last one, so I'm going to try my best to talk about them here and rank them. But I will say I really enjoyed every one of these books. They all had great mysteries, great characters. Some, of course, were better than others, and that's why I'm ranking it. But I did enjoy them. It wasn't like once I thought, oh, I didn't like that, or, you know, I quit reading it or anything like that. I do think that I will enjoy rereading all of these. So when you hear this list, first of all, there's not a bad book in the bunch. And second, it could be that my favorite's not your favorite, and I'm going to try to explain why I have these in this order, because I know that we all are, this is subjective, and it's just the time I read it, the mood I was in, and, those kind of things. So I say all that to say, please don't get upset if my favorite's not your favorite. And I'm just going to have some fun celebrating Agatha Christie with you with Miss Marple, because I think I haven't finished, reading Poirot or the standalones and all of that. I do love Tommy and Tuppence, but I think Miss Marple might always be my favorite character for the Agatha Christie books. So here we go. I'm going to try my best to rank all of the Miss Marple books. Again, there are 12 of these. Now, there is a collection of short stories, and I'm reading through those right now for the 30 Books in 30 Days challenge. But I'm not counting this on this list because those are short stories and these are novels, so I'm counting them separately. And I will say I've read a lot of the short stories before in other collections, but I'm enjoying rereading many of those too. So the first one on the list is A Pocket Full of Rye, and this one was published in 1953. I don't know what it is about this one. It just didn't thrill me. It is about a man who is murdered, and they find rye cereal in his pocket. So that's why A Pocket Full of Rye. It's like the little rhyme with Pocket Full of Rye. But I don't know. He has this beautiful wife, and there's this mystery surrounding her. I just didn't like the premise of this one as much as I enjoyed some of the others, but it still was a good mystery. So the next one is They Do It with Mirrors, and this was published in 1952. In this one, Miss Marple has a friend. She's talking with her about the friend's sister, and Miss Marple is friends with both sisters. But this particular lady is concerned about her sister and asks Miss Marple if she would go visit her to make sure everything's okay. She's just worried about her, and she just wants Miss Marple to see what's going on. So Miss Marple travels to visit with this sister, and the I think it's called Stoney Gates is the estate. And when she gets there, of course, there's all these characters that she's introduced to, and Stonygate is now housing these delinquents. The sister's husband, the sister that she's visiting, her husband has now made this a home for delinquents, trying to rehabilitate them. And there is one thing I did love about this was at the beginning of this one, there was this map of the estate. So I did like that they included the map, and it really helps you solve the murder, which I didn't solve it, but it is there to help you if you're smart enough to do that. But with Agatha Christie, she's really good. Anyway, that's at the beginning, and I like that about it because that does make a difference in what happens. I found this one to be a lot of fun. It was super interesting. It just wasn't one of my favorites. The next one I don't have a physical copy of because I checked it out from the library, so I'll just put a picture up. It's The Body in the Library, and it was published in 1942. Now, this was my very first Agatha Christie. I had never read an Agatha Christie before, and I checked this out from the library, and I really enjoyed it, but it was, I guess, it took me a long time to ever read another Agatha Christie, so it wasn't that it excited me to say, ooh, I want to read every Miss Marple or every Agatha Christie. I did enjoy it, though, and it was a classic mystery, and, you know, it fulfilled that promise when I read that one. But that one it's on the closer to the bottom. I do remember enjoying it, but I don't remember it as well because it's been several years since I read that one. I need to go back and reread it. I didn't want to reread it yet, though, because this is my first read-through of all of them, and I wanted to have them all on the same playing field and then, you know, judge them by first reading. And now I'll go back, and I'm sure it'll change around depending on what kind of mood I'm in. But that was The Body in the Library, and I did enjoy that one. But again, I don't remember it quite as well. The next one on the list is The Moving Finger. This was also published in 1942. And this one was very interesting. It was one of those poison pen letter mysteries where someone is sending these malicious letters to people in the village, and it's, you know, just ugly things that they're spreading about them, and things go from there. So the premise was fantastic. I love the premise. The problem I had with this one was some of the drama in it. There was this romance that I didn't care for, and that kind of dampened the story for me. I did again enjoy the mystery. I thought I had solved it, but I had not, so the mystery was great. But again, I just didn't like the romance part of this one. The next one on the list is The Murder at the Vicarage. This was published in 1930, and it's the very first Miss Marple novel. And I was excited to get to this one, even though I'd read out of order. I went back and read this one. I was happy to because it really introduces Miss Marple, her community, and the way that she, interacts with the people in her community. The reason this one is not higher up, because I really did enjoy that part of this. It really, Miss Marple's character shines in this one. But it's told from the perspective of the vicar. And I just didn't like that point of view. I enjoyed the vicar. I liked hearing, his perspective, but for some reason it kind of changed the tone for me of the other books. It felt different than the other books because of that. The next on the list is The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side, and this was published in 1962. This has the best twist of any of the Miss Marples. I love the twist in this one. This one was one that just yesterday I was having a conversation with my husband. He's never read it, but I was having a conversation with him about this because of the way that it's laid out, and then the consequences of everything blew my mind. And that's one, this is like just that part of it. And I don't want to say too much, but the twist was great. I'll just leave it at that. I did watch a movie adaptation of this recently. I think it was Rock Hudson, Elizabeth Taylor, Angela Lansbury. I can't remember who all was in it. I did like it, but I'm hoping that the Joan Hickson one is better. A Murder is Announced is the next one. It was published in 1950. And this one is super interesting. It is about, there is an advertisement in the paper for a murder to take place at someone's house. And so it's like there's going to be this murder party, like a whodunit party. So everyone is anxious and curious about what in the world is this. Well, what makes it so interesting is it's not planned. The lady that lives in the home says, I did not post this advertisement. So she's puzzled, and people start showing up to the house, and of course a murder takes place. So I found this to be a very interesting premise too. There are a lot of interesting characters in this one, and it seems very twisty to me. One thing I did love about this one that I have to point out is one of the people in this one, one of the suspects in this one, is named Mitzi. And so I loved it because I don't see Mitzi in a lot of the books that I read. So when I saw her name was Mitzi, I did a double take and I was like, oh my goodness, what kind of character is this going to be? She was a dramatic character, I'll tell you that much. But I did enjoy A Murder is Announced. Now this one, I think it's higher up on my list than a lot of people's list, because when I mention this one, I have people that are Agatha Christie fans who say, I didn't care for that one as much. And that is Nemesis. This was published in 1971, but I really found this one to be fascinating. I loved the premise of this one. Now this one, it's like it has a nod to another person that's mentioned in one of her other books. There's a character that she has solved a case with in one of the other books that I haven't mentioned yet. But she solves a case with this person and he dies, and the solicitor brings her a letter from this deceased person that she hasn't seen in years, and he asks her to solve this murder, this cold case murder kind of thing. So she goes on the hunt to solve this case. There are like 3 sisters in this that make it really interesting. Their relationship and thing makes this one super interesting to me. This one, I think this was the last book she wrote. Sleepy Murder is the last one published, but I think this is the last one that she wrote. And some people say you could tell she was kind of, getting older, and her writing wasn't as good as it was before, but I don't think so. I thought that she did a fantastic job with this, and I found it to be a real page turner. Now the next one is super popular, 450 from Paddington. This was published in 1957. It has another name because Miss McGillicuddy is the main character, and I just love her name, Miss McGillicuddy. But it starts out, Miss McGillicuddy has been Christmas shopping, so it does take place at Christmas time. I think it's Christmas Eve. But she has been shopping, and she has all her shopping bags, and she gets on the train. She looks over into the train beside her through the window, and she sees what she thinks is a murder. She thinks she's witnessed a murder in the other train. And of course the trains take off in different directions, or they go separate ways, and they're on 2 different tracks, and she thinks, oh my goodness, I have watched this person murder someone. So when she gets home, she gets Miss Marple, her friend Miss Marple, to help her solve this case. And it is the most dramatic, most exciting to me, Miss Marple. I love this one for the drama in this one. Super fast paced and lots of drama in it. And that is just like a great premise. But the best premise to me is Sleeping Murder. This was published in 1976. This has a fantastic premise. It's about a young girl who is a newlywed, and she goes to try to find a house for her and her husband to live in England. She's never been to England. But when she gets to this house, she feels like, just has a strange feeling about the house. And she even asks the realtor, is this house haunted? And then she kind of asks herself, why did I even ask that? Because she's not like a person that's like easily afraid or anything like that. And as she buys the house, and as she's redecorating it, she decides she wants these certain wallpapers, and there's like a door somewhere. Well, come to find out, there was wallpaper in this room and there was a door there. So she's like, how in the world could I know so much about this house and I have never been there? And then she starts having this vision of someone being murdered there. So it is super interesting, and I loved the premise of this one. Best premise by far. Lots of Miss Marple in this one, and I love at the end there is a nod to the murder at the Vicarage in this one too. So this one was a great one as well. The next one is probably gonna surprise you, because I see this as one of the lowest on many lists, but I absolutely love it. And after reading it, I thought it was going to be my all-time favorite Miss Marple. But there is one right after it. So this is a runner-up for my favorite. And that is at Bertrams Hotel. This was published in 1965. And I just think it's a fantastic premise. I loved the plot and great characters in this one. This one doesn't have Miss Marple as much though. Miss Marple goes to visit this hotel. The hotel is the same as it was 30 years ago, like exactly. Even the manager's the same. He's an interesting character as well. But what makes this story for me, not only is that premise very interesting where everything's exactly the same as it was 30 years ago, but there is this very interesting Mr. Pennyfather. And Mr. Pennyfather is a super interesting character, and the way that Agatha Christie uses his character in here is fantastic. I just loved him. I loved the characters in this one, and the way that it's played out is wonderful. So I don't know why people don't like. I know it's probably because Miss Marple's not in it as much, but it was such a fantastic premise and plot that I'm sorry, but it was great, even though she wasn't in it as much. So I highly recommend Bertrams Hotel because I thought it was fantastic too. But my favorite, best all around, has lots of Miss Marple in it, is A Caribbean Mystery. This was published in 1964, and I knew as I was reading this one, it was going to be my favorite. This has Miss Marple all the way through it, and it showcases her so well. Now, I had read several Miss Marple, probably more than half of them by the time I read this one, but it just, as I was reading, I thought, yes, this is how Miss Marple needs to be shown on the page. It showed her wit, and I was laughing through the whole thing, just the way she would respond. Her interaction with one of the characters especially was just great. The way that they worked together was great. I loved this one. This one reminds me a lot of Poirot's Death on the Nile. If you like that one from Poirot's series, you would probably like this one too, because it is a holiday where there's a lot of strangers who come together. I loved every minute of this one, and I'm telling you, as I was reading it, I was like, yeah, this is the best Miss Marple there is. So this one showcases Miss Marple and her skills and how she responds to people and interacts with suspects. So I just loved it. Now again, I love all of the Miss Marples. This was very difficult because I did enjoy them all. But I did, you know, you love them for different reasons. Like at Bertrams Hotel, does not have Miss Marple in it that much, but that was one I had read earlier, so I wasn't as attached to Miss Marple when I read it. So some of you may have read all of the Miss Marple and then at Bertrams Hotel, and so you're expecting more of Miss Marple, so I can understand that. For me, I wasn't quite attached to her yet. I am now. I love her so much. But I'm interested to see as I go through the Poirots and the other standalones how I'm going to feel, you know, reading the others. I do still have And Then There Were None is still my all-time favorite, Agatha Christie, and that's a standalone. I love Tommy and Tuppence, and I don't know as much about Poirot because I've only read a couple of those, but I am excited to continue my journey through all of the Agatha Christie books. Let me know, what is your favorite Agatha Christie and what is your favorite Miss Marple? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.